Do you live near the border to another state or near the border to another province or country? If you do, please comment in the live chat near which border you live. It's amazing the kind of business conflict which exists between them for just casinos. And of course, I'll be taking your questions because this is a live stream. I'm only saying that because, of course, the people who are live here now no, it's a live stream, but you might be watching this after the fact. Hello to you. Thank you for being here. And be sure to subscribe for notifications so you can have your questions answered the next time I do one of these. But either way, stick around and I'm sure it will be of value to you. But if you are watching this after the fact. So, but those of you who are here live, thank you so much. Um, uh, Great. People are already starting to comment in the live chat. So if you have a question, I'll put the banner up so you can see it throughout. If you have a question, use hashtag question. Honestly, there's so much people in the live chat have gotten to know one another and they meet each other here and they talk amongst themselves. And I'm like, are you telling me? Are you telling, is that a question for me or for somebody? So uh, if you use hashtag question, that's so I can be sure to spot your question to me instead of comments in the live chat to each other. After all, this is also a community video where friends check in about how their slots play has been going lately. I see a few hellos, Camilla, Goldie One, Jan, Patty, and hello to everybody. Hello to each of you individually, and hello to everybody. Just so you know, a lot of people are watching and haven't commented, and I want to say hi to them as well. So I have a quick announcement just to let you know. Last Thursday's live stream was highly attended, so I have no concerns. I'll be continuing with my Thursday live streams with only the occasional time off. At this point, I think the only holiday that falls on a Thursday for this year, the next one would be Thanksgiving Day. And yes, canceled. And that comes to mind. Also, this week on Tuesday, I started a new weekly live stream, which was also well attended enough. We talked for 2 hours and answered questions, and I'm sure that the number of people coming will increase some more. Still had hundreds of people, so that's all perfectly fine. So I'll be continuing with that one too, because if you need it, then I'll do it. So it's 3 times. Well, I found a peak time each day, and I just by YouTube data, they provide a lot of analytics, and I love database decision making. And I found that the best time to hold a live stream is not good for me. It's from midnight until 2 a.m. And I'm just like, what's the second best time? Okay. So while I am willing to do whatever to help you, I do realize there are some constraints. And if you demand it, then I will see what I can do. But my goodness, that's a hard time for me. So also Tuesday live streams are happening. So that's 3 times the weekly live streams for 3 times the fun. You don't have to attend all of them. I'm not, offering a recitation for a physics course where every recitation is repeated that week because I might have 3 groups of 30 people. If that makes any sense to you. I taught college physics as a teaching assistant through graduate school and as a research assistant. So I'm not repeating topics. I will present on a topic for about 20 minutes, and then I'll take your questions for about the rest of the 2 hours, and just fire away, slots related. Okay. And yes, I was just about to say, Jan, that's Tuesdays at 7 p.m., Thursdays at 3 p.m., and my long running live stream on Saturdays at noon. This is all Eastern time. My live stream, because there's so many new people here. I feel I should. I mean, there are people who come from my Saturday live stream, and they're visiting, and I'm so glad to see you here. But there are a lot of new people, so for the people who've been to my 113 live streams over the last 2.5 years on Saturdays, you may hear something like, there's a button that you could press for this and a button to do for that, and a few other things about how to use a live stream, how to go to a live stream, because people on Tuesdays and Thursdays who could never make Saturdays have a few questions. Okay, so I just putting that out there for the notes, the announcements. So, and let's see, good questions I see so far. So I'll let them accumulate, and then good to know where you're from. Good to know if you're near that's the question I'm asking of people. Are you near the border to another state, or if you're in Canada province, or on Australia province, or are you near the border to another country, Canada, Mexico, or someplace else? And that's the question I have for you now. And when you ask me questions, hashtag question, please, as it says in the banner. Okay. So I'm going to try to use what you tell me to answer these questions. I could talk about the difference between California and Nevada, between Nevada and 4 other states that surrounds it. I could talk about Tennessee having a border with 8 U.S. states. 8. That's like I think there's no other state that has so many borders to another state, and so that's yeah. And I do apologize about there are international circumstances. I haven't really looked into, for instance, Mexico casinos, and I'm not as familiar as with Australia provinces as I am with Canadian provinces. So we'll see if I can answer your questions, because one of the things I have done for years, well before I was ever monetized or even realized that you could have a YouTube channel that would be watched by people, I was just embedding videos on my website, and that website was basically professorslots.com, and I'll show you a few of them, were articles on every state. And I was trying to understand gambling in the United States. And gambling in the United States is primarily based on state regulations. Or if you're a tribal casino, it's based on negotiating a compact with the state. So what's out there? And I went through everything, one article a week, one state a week, alphabetically. It took me 13 months of doing it weekly. Then I did it again, and then I did it again. And then on the 4th time through, I began to realize that I basically got it covered, and now it was just updates. Because the first time I was like, well, they have all this. I didn't understand what I should cover the first time I went through, until I'd actually gone through all of them and found out, oh, they do this. I should mention that in all the other states because that's important. And so I will go over some of that as I talk about these different states. So first up, Nevada and California. All right. There's Nevada and Arizona and Idaho and Utah, and I'll talk about that next. But Nevada and California. Californians like to come to Nevada, Las Vegas in particular, on the weekends as a vacation. It's as a weekend away. And there's things I want to put together here for you. Tribal casinos in California don't have return statistics. But there is the feeling, the expression, the concern by a lot of gamblers who talk to me, slots players who talk to me about how tight tribal casinos are in California, because that's all they have. There's card rooms, but they don't have slots in card rooms. So tribal casinos are where the slot machines are at. And those slot machines are tight. And it's not provable because we don't have returns. There's only 20 US states that provide return statistics. Sometimes I bounce around from 19 to 20. Maryland has been like a little tricky. I can, what they say, back out the payout return, the player win percent, by using a calculation. And I'm just like, if I got my assumptions right, I'm doing that, because they're all like 96, 97% in Maryland. And I don't normally see that high of a number. So 19 or 20 states have return statistics. I'm always looking for answers on things I don't know, even when I've answered so many of them. So when I went through all these states, I saw a few things. And as I went to the state's neighbors, as I went through all 56 of these, 50 states, yes, one federal district, that's 51, and then 5 U.S. territories, which matter because some of them have big time casinos going on. And so that is an interesting, U.S. territories are an interesting thing. We'll talk about one of those. But Nevada and California tribal casinos are for playing slots, for slots players like Yamava, is formerly San Manuel, has a bad reputation. And we don't know what the data is for the return statistics, but a lot of people feel that it has bad, tight slot machines. And so it doesn't really matter that we don't have return statistics. I mean, we'd like to, but we don't. And what that means is their perception is their reality. If everybody feels it's tight, then everybody does something about it. And what they do is they go to Las Vegas or Nevada City, but Las Vegas on the weekends. And Las Vegas says, well, interesting, we can keep these people happy even if we make things tighter on the weekends by making them less tight than they experience at tribal casinos in California. Does that make sense? It's a business decision. So if you go to Las Vegas on the weekends, you'll find low odds on slot machines. I have an article on that very recently. You can look at all the comments from people saying, I thought so. And it's just, people who live there, people who go regularly are just like, yeah, this is a known thing. And because the monthly average for Las Vegas is, for the entire state of Nevada, is 93%, which is great. Some of the best in the country, if not the best. And that 93% is the monthly average. But it's and they report that to the public, but the casinos have to report to the Gaming Commission once a week. And then the Gaming Commission provides it once a month. So in order for the Gaming Commission, for the casinos to meet the Gaming Commission gaming regs, they have to make the average for the week 93%. And they just raise it up during the week when it's just locals and conference attendance, and lower it on weekends when crowds of Californians come to visit. And that means because of so many people coming Monday through Friday, or rather Friday through Monday on the weekends, and so fewer people playing slots during the week, that it's raised quite a bit and lowered a little bit, raised quite a bit during the week and lowered a little bit during the weekend. And that's to keep the locals happy and to fleece the visitors. So that was developed because if tribal casinos were not tight in California, they would not leave California and go to Nevada for the weekend. So this is the interaction, one of the interactions, one of the dynamics, and believe you me, it's millions of dollars to be made. So uh, if you go to Reno, which is on the California-Nevada border, uh, Lake Tahoe, Primm, Verde, Verde. Those four cities are on the border. Between Nevada and Idaho, there's a town called Jackpot. What an awesome name for a town. Jackpot. And then on the border to Utah is West Wendover. I think West Wendover, it's divided down the middle by the state line with Utah. And so the side on Nevada, I think, is called West Wendover, and the side on Utah is called Wendover. I think I got that right. And then there, between Arizona and Nevada, there's Laughlin and Mesquite. And so all these towns, found a way to take advantage. Okay. My apologies. I am being my own. Let's see. Yes. Bye-bye. And yes, I'm going without my moderator. So I figured the first time it was too much of a surprise that I had a live stream on a Thursday, but now they're like, oh, now I can switch over to this time with them. Thanks. Sorry about the outrage. And so it isn't only Las Vegas that you see this fleecing of Californians on the weekend, or any visitor from anywhere on the weekends. It is actually these border towns as well. And I think it might actually be all Nevada cities, but I'm not checking all Nevada cities. I'm just checking these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. If I count Las Vegas Strip, downtown, north, as one. And so, there's something that can save you a few bucks. I try to give you a winning method. I figure this stuff out. I try to give you a winning method, but mostly it's how to avoid losing with Nevada and what they're doing in their cities, and for visitors coming from elsewhere. So yes, if you can gamble on the weekend. It is still possible to win. It's going to be a lot harder. People talk about how they hit a wall, and I explain why, and so interesting comments. And so this is what is happening in Nevada. But let's talk about some of the others. There's other things going on where the businesses, the casino businesses in a state are working with the state government to either without really telling them, or by just using the state gaming regs and trying to take advantage of the next state over. Because the reason why the gaming commissions are interested in providing some assistance along these lines is that it's also gaming income. Now, Nevada, it's more just the casinos because of not having the state income. The Nevada casinos are paying taxes, state taxes, but not the players winning, paying state taxes. But still, there is something in it for the state. The money that they get from the casinos, it's amazing. So let's talk about instead Missouri and Illinois. I'm going to get a few more of these, and then if you want to comment, if you're near the state, and if you want to report the state, if you're near the border, that would be great. So, okay. One of the little things that I noticed was that along the Mississippi River, there are riverboat casinos on either side. Let's see if I can find that for you. So I'm going to share this screen for you, which is my website. And this is my resource. If you go to professorslots.com/online-resource, or just click the main page on reviews, there's these states, territories, and federal district that I have articles on that go over, well, let me show you Illinois. And this is the setup, all the things I decided after 4 times through all these states. And that was 4.5 years of working on an article each week. There's an introduction, there's the relevant legal statutes for gaming regs. I put in, hey, do you want to privately own a slot machine, and can you? Well, some places you can't, some places you can, and other places it has to be an antique. And how many years old does it have to be an antique? The Gaming Commission, where there's that at, and I separated out, well, these are all the casinos for Indiana or Illinois, and I separated out commercial from tribal, and then the nearby states. I also have 57 Facebook groups, one for every state, territory, and district, and plus one. And then I took the information that they might have available, and in Illinois, there's theoretical payouts and return statistics. And if you go here, you can see where to find that information. Okay, that's the layout on all the different states, all of these states right here. And if we look along the western border, there are 3 casinos that are also matched up by Missouri. And Missouri, it's funny how they put the riverboat casinos on one side of the river near the casinos on the other side of the river in the other state. And one of the original rules in Illinois, it's still in existence, is they have to close for 2 hours. 6 o'clock, 6:30, it depends on which casino. They have to close for 2 hours per day. Nothing to do with 2 years ago and the whole shutdown and all of that. This was in existence since 1990. It's just what they chose to do. And they were also first, close to first. Iowa was first. But Illinois did that, and Missouri saw them do it. And so they said, easy solution. We will be open 24 hours a day. And the one across the river from the one that you just was going to early morning, they closed. Well, come on over to our place and and stay. Okay. And that is something that these 2 states did. And it's been 30 years, and it's been an amazing amount of money, because if you can convince people to stay from having come from Illinois and stay in Missouri, and there are also borders to other states along the rivers where the riverboat casinos are. It's not like here is a river, but this straight line is not a river, so you can sort of tell where the rivers are between Missouri and other states. And so that's one of the things. Now, there's also, and do I have this? I will talk about it rather than show it. There's also, and I'll check yours. Okay. When you are in Connecticut and you go to Foxwoods or Mohegan Sun, if you're anywhere near that area, you know what I'm going to say. Foxwoods competes with Mohegan Sun. They've done it from the beginning. One builds an additional building, another builds additional. If you've been to Foxwoods, it's got like 8 casinos, and they built them one at a time, and it's all walkable, walk through, and they just basically drove themselves to excellence. And Foxwoods, at one point, I think it was 2018, before WinStar opened, I don't think it was the second biggest casino in the world. And now it's WinStar in Oklahoma, when it's not Choctaw Durant, because now Choctaw Durant is competing with WinStar and basically doing the same thing. Choctaw's Durant is currently the largest. WinStar's got construction going on, and when that section opens, they'll be the largest. But then Choctaw Durant is building more, and this is the internal within the state competition. And I want to mention that's going on because what Connecticut's casinos, Foxwoods and Mohegan Sun, did was they were practicing. Because what opened about 5 years ago? Is it 4? MGM Springfield, right on the other side of the border in Massachusetts. And Mohegan Sun and Foxwoods began working together to do whatever they could to kill that casino. There's different things you can do, and one of the things what they did was, we don't want anybody to go to that casino. We want to build loyalty into our casinos so they don't want to leave. And how do you do that? Well, you let them win for a year. They took the investment because they knew long term this is a lot more money than what they were spending. And so Mohegan Sun and Foxwoods, a year before MGM Springfield opened, was just being nice. I've been to Connecticut. I used to live in Connecticut. All this was like obvious to me. And a year before, these two casinos just put the screws to MGM Springfield. And then MGM Springfield opened. They never saw it coming. I don't know why they didn't, but they didn't see it coming. And they failed. They limped across the finish line. Where is everybody? Why aren't they coming in? The general manager, did he get sacked or was it just reprimanded? That's the sort of thing after a year, because they're just like, I don't know what's going on. And that's because Foxwoods and Mohegan Sun are great competitors. So I'm going to switch over from that. I was going to talk about how Virginia casinos have been blocked by MGM in Maryland because it doesn't want competition to Maryland Live. And I was going to talk about American Samoa, which you may not be interested in because it's South Pacific, where they prohibit slot machines. But then there's Western Samoa, which is an independent nation, which really is big into junkets. So that's a certain term. So yeah, there's a few things going on. But let me see what the questions are, and I want to help you, work with you on your differences. And I will tell you what little I know about international, but and what I need to do to understand it a little bit better. Okay. Let's see here. Sharing. Okay. If you have a question, use #question. And Jan at Texas Tootsie asked the question, Texas and Louisiana and Texas and Oklahoma. This is fairly straightforward. You know what I'm talking about. They cannot get a Class 3 casino in Texas. Why not? Partly it's lobbying from Oklahoma and from Louisiana to Texas lawmakers saying, don't do it, because we want people from Texas to come to our state. Cut and dried. There it is. Let's see. I wish I had a longer answer for you. It's fairly straightforward. And Camilla says, interested in hear differences in U.S. different from Canada. Well, what I'm trying to convey is that, what I found out when I went through every state 4 times over 5 years, 4.5 years, I found that there's more differences between states. Well, just as much differences between states as there are between provinces. Provinces in Canada, provinces in Australia. It's clientele as well. The golden age of slots was during the American Prohibition, 1920 to 1935, 32, 35. 35, I think it is. And so for that 15 years, there was the golden age of slots because it drove it underground, in which case they had free reign. No taxes, It was all underground, and so uh, uh, that situation meant that they went around the world. They just went crazy because there were no brakes, and so that's what happened there. And okay, and that's just historic knowledge. I know nobody is interested in history. I think it's pretty interesting, but the difference is so I, so in Canada, you've got a crown agency. There's one in Ontario called the Ontario Lottery Corporation, OLC. It's a crown agency, and you can go to their website, and they talk about a few things having to do with what the limits are, what the theoretical payout is, and yes, yes, the Canadian provinces have their own. It's a crown agency. I haven't looked up the crown agency for all Canadian provinces and nor documented what the differences are, but that's is expected to be a little bit different. I didn't see a lot of good information on the Ontario one, which I scrutinized. It was like a brochure, and so that's worth digging into, but I'm not sure how much information there is to be had. It's kind of like going to, some of the U.S. territories and just finding nothing. But then on the other hand, or even let's just say Tennessee, okay, with 8 bordering states, and there in Tennessee, slot machines are prohibited, except it's huge. There's illegal machines at can I say Texaco's? Truck stops on the interstate, 5 machines. There's always a line, 24 hours a day, and it's just amazing the amount of money that they get. And because nobody is arrested, they're just removed because there's no laws preventing it. It's like Utah. It's famous. It's like equal to Hawaii. No gambling at all. Why in Hawaii? Because if you put in a resort or if you put in a casino, they compared the income to the state, and it was 10 times more for the resort than it was for the casino. So no casinos. The state came down with a law. In Utah, they have 4 words in the state constitution. Slot machines are prohibited. That's it. So if you were to get an illegal slot machine, what's the penalty? Oh, no. There's 4 words and nothing to say about, it's basically turning a blind eye to illegal machines because, what's the rules for enforcement? Some states have civil forfeiture without a penalty, but by golly, that person better be 21 if you're in a state that it could be a bar or tavern, in which case, what are you doing letting people in who are underage and secondary play a slot machine? So there's rules and it gets kind of like uh, you know I wanted to talk about this. I would have done so some time ago, but there are um, situations where it's just like minutia, but it's not endless detail when it's you experiencing it. So I mostly try to write videos and produce videos which are kind of like helps everyone, even if it's only an example so they can see what another state is doing. I am questioning that sort of um, condition. I'm thinking quite seriously about doing state by state videos. I have these fantastic articles that I've written 4 times over the last 4.5 years, and I want to start sharing some of this, and I'm going to do it and see how it works out. The question I have now is, what time is this Tuesday live stream? It's at 7 p.m. Eastern time. And then there's the Saturday, the one I've been doing for 2.5 years on Saturday at noon Eastern time. And today's Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern time. So you're welcome to join on any of these, and let's see what other questions you have. Uh, Ben cheated 25. Hashtag question. Does Red Mile and Derby City and Kentucky have the 5 spin method? I haven't had good test results. I have been to Derby City and I've been to Red Mile. Yeah, that's the 2 that you mentioned. I haven't been to Oak Grove or some of the others that are a little bit further away. I made a day trip. And the ones that are closer to Ohio is the ones I went to on the same day. Actually, it was last year on Valentine's Day, and I learned something about Valentine's Day at Red Mile in Derby City. One celebrates it and the other does not. Good to know. But the 5 spin method, there's when I go to a casino, I can check to see if they have the 5 spin method because it's a simple test. There's other strategies like come back a week later, which is less convenient because I don't come back a week later. But there's also something called location. And that just blew my mind that they had that. They have machines like sticking out. You have to do this a few times. You have to look around, but it's so easy to spot. Location. I put that, it's one of my strategies that seems to be a lot more universal than the 1 in 4 casinos that have the 5 pull method and 5 spin method. And so I didn't find the 5 spin method when I went there, but I did find location. So there is a row of machines on the right side and the left side of the bar, right? And one of those machines, maybe 5 machines on one side, 5 machines on the other, one of them is a winner. That's easier than trying to figure out which of 1,000 casinos or 500,000 slot machines or 500 slot machines. You have 10 to check. And that's what I found worked there. I didn't do better than breaking even. I just spent $300 and it lasted for like hours. At both casinos, and that's what you get. I've had better results, but cycling your bankroll and just hovering at the same amount, it helps you accumulate points if you use a players club card, and that's kind of what you get winning. Not so much money, but raising up in tiers, which can be valuable if that's your goal. So one of the things I talk about in my online course is what's your goal? And, how do you go about achieving it? But you need to know what you want. How would you know if you got what you wanted if you don't know what you wanted? And so it's a common refrain in like performance appraisals. What is it that you want? And this is how you get this, and this. That's what I talk about. Okay, let me just, hey, Jason, I hope you got my email. Firekeepers has location as well. And Jason's one that knows all about that. So if you are interested in Firekeepers in Southwest Michigan, Jason is the person to talk to. Let's see. Camilla says 12 near the British Columbia and U.S. border, 12 tribal casinos in Washington, a couple of hours drive. I'm interested in visiting. I don't know much about the dynamic across that border and what they're doing. Just be aware that the states in Washington, and I have an article on this. I'm trying to get a video out, not tonight, because I have my Zoom meeting with the Slots Enthusiast Growth Network, my paid community. But tomorrow, I'm hoping to get the video out on how to win at the Class 3 slot machines at Washington's tribal casinos, those based on the state scratch ticket lottery system. And remember, there's a difference between the Class 3 system, Class 3 machines, and the Class 2 bingo style machines. I had somebody, was it this morning, comment on, well, the 5 spin strategy doesn't work in Oklahoma. And I said, you got to try it on the Class 3 machines, which your casino might not even have, because it doesn't work on Class 2 machines. It works on Class 3 machines. And if you don't know what you're sitting at, then this is my strategies are not universal. These strategies are counter strategy. I can't even say that. Counter strategies to that's probably why I never use that word. Counter strategies to the casino's operating system. This isn't about you being lucky. I can't make you lucky. I can make you educated on what the casino is doing to manipulate you, and then manipulate them right back. That's what the 5 pull strategies, 5 spin strategy is all about. They want to give you a win, and then they want you to spend what you won, what's in your wallet, go to the ATM, spend that too. And I'm saying, whoa, 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 whoa. 5 spins or first win. Take it and go to the next machine and get that taste. Collect tastes from machine after machine. Can you see how this is a counter strategy to a casino plan? And that's what I do. Now, I don't make you more lucky. That would be awesome, but no. Okay, questions. Just checking to see where things are at. Hey, just a comment. I want that thumbs up pillow. Do you like that? I had actually had it on the last live stream Tuesdays, but it was like right behind me and nobody could see it. And you see the little YouTube one? It says subscribe. Please notice that, because my cat Curie, the calico, who is right here, usually covers up the subscribe button. So if you want to hit the like, that would be great. The subscribe is not something that YouTube considers very much, but it's what's called a vanity metric. And on Tuesday's live stream, I went over 40,000 subscribers during the live stream. I should have probably said something during the live stream, but I only noticed once I got off. Right. It's not really a question. Yes. Is there something I can do for you? Did the dog lately has been eating all the cat food, and I'm like, I thought I trained you not to do that. And there's Dave just made a comment. Not me. I actually use win, walk away, return later, where you come back a week later, 5 minutes earlier, and play the same machine. That has far exceeded anything else but people aren't patient. They don't want to wait a week. But that's where I won the most amount of money. 5 spin was second. But location. It's similar to the come back a week later, but you have to actually think on the location. But you don't have to think on wait a week and come back later, because you just do it again. And that's a way to sync yourself to, I was thinking about doing this as a topic. That's a way to sync yourself to the casino schedule. You don't have to figure it out like you do with listening and location. You just have to come back. It's easier. So when I say I got the most amount of money from that, it's actually, location, because that's what I was doing. Just returning to the same machine all the time. Same machines, group of machines. Okay. Linda says local California news stated casinos recorded their best profits ever. I believe it was $5 billion in March. Yeah, sure. That is typical. There's a question of what exactly is profits. I found that when you go to the return statistics, is like before or after they take out taxes, before or after they take out payroll, before or after they pay their electrical bill. And so there's always a question, but if they check each, then sure, it is the best profits ever. But I don't think they say profits. I think they say returns. And it would be very important to revenue. It would be very important to check to see if they said profits or revenue, if you could check, if you have that handy, because revenue means they might have had better profits, or they might have given it all back to the players. But if they said profits, then that means they didn't give it back to the players. Kind of want to know the distinction, right? But yes, it's been records throughout the country. Some 20 states have offer return statistics, and it's just blown it out of the water. And they got so scared 2 years ago when everything closed abruptly. It was just a shock. They had to walk around with a clipboard and record what was on the progressive machines, because they have to power them down because everybody's going home for however long. We never knew, right? I had live streams during that time, and people were like, are they ever going to reopen? And questions like that. And I answered all those questions because it's fairly easy to see what a moneymaker casinos are, and if they can, they will, and they did. But yes, they got scared 2 years ago. They didn't realize they had, how much savings do we have? So what they have done, when they started getting people back, people felt comfortable to go. Large crowds of them, at least medium-sized crowd, normal-sized crowds early on, they just took the money. They just took the money, 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 because they were like, we have to recover. Let's do it again. Let's do it again. Let's do it again. One more time. And then one more time for good, 6 times. They just we have to recover 6 times. And now the slot managers all over the country are just like, could we please? I just talked to my accountant, whose brother worked at a casino in Pennsylvania, and it's just been as an accountant, and I don't want to give details, but he no longer works there. And I had a meeting at noon today with him about going over stuff, but he told me that story, and it's amazing what this person had to go through, because it was so much work. And can I have some help? They didn't want to pay for anything. They just wanted to take the money. And now we are seeing across the United States casinos being allowed to get a few new slot machines. Don't build that building, even if you had plans to do it, because that's an expense. But we will loosen the purse strings just enough to give you a little bit of money for slot machines, $20,000 a piece. And I don't know how many would that be? 10, 20, maybe 100 at most, and they're just like, cut it off. And so before that, they're broken. They would make money. Please let me buy parts. And that's kind of the situation with this reason. They're holding back, and that's why it's record profits. Camilo, want to hear more about Reno? Reno is just like Las Vegas on the weekend. I mean, the effect that I'm talking about, it is from Friday. The particular hour is kind of like, is it 5 o'clock in the afternoon? Is it 10 o'clock in the morning on Friday? Sometime at Friday, they turn it down. They shut it off. They turn off, tighten everything up. People still winning, but it's a lot more people and yet fewer wins than during the week. So it's not like they turned it to zero. They can't turn it to zero anyway, but they can turn it down, and it's a dramatic effect. And then that goes until, sometime on Monday when the planes leave, at the airport, 2 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 2 o'clock in the morning. At some point, it's time for the locals to come out and go back to the casinos during the week. Yeah. And so that's what's going on in Reno, and that alone will cover things. Yeah. Yeah, that's PNT de Black. That's the comments I was getting this morning on YouTube about Yamava. Uh, and it's how it's a general, what you're expressing is what a lot of people are feeling. And that feeling becomes a movement, a wave. And now that's what's happening. Even if they were to change it, this is what happens when you have these casinos that try to take advantage because there's no nearby competitors, and they just, yep, we're making money. I mean, we're earning money. We're just going to take it from everybody, not realizing that they're burning their credibility. They're burning their um, reputation, and then later they're like, "Oh, what did we do? What did we do? Because we lost our whales, we lost all these people, and now we have to treat them well, and it ends up costing more than they made." But this last and that knowledge, that understanding of the casino system by the casinos is why record profits right now, because they're like, well, yes, we can mess it up, but we can blame the events of the last 2 years and cause and just do it, and we'll do it 6 times as much, roughly. And that way we'll be sure that no matter what we have to fix later, we will never spend that much money. Now we just have it. Unfortunately, the investors are going to be like, "That's what I want. Do it again," and the casino is going to be like, "Oh," but that's how this works. Right. So, coming up, um, I'll comment on this. Serencia. Apologize for the mispronunciation. I'm sure. Cosmo in Las Vegas is giving every employee, 5,400 employees, a $5,000 thank you bonus. Nice to see that. It is nice to see that. How many employees did they have before all this happened? And those that remain got the thank you bonus. That's the problem that I was just explaining about my accountant's brother in that Pennsylvania casino, a Pennsylvania casino, and how that they just couldn't get the people in, or rather, wouldn't. There's people looking for work, and they just wouldn't hire them. Tough it out. What? Tough out the accounting. Yeah, and so. It's good that they do that. Yeah, absolutely. Uh, let's see. Yes, talked about that. A question from TU. It seems like a slot machine would hit more on a lower denomination because the casino doesn't have to pay as much. It's when the machine is run 24 hours a day, uh, and I mean it's played 24 hours a day. Wouldn't It's a percentage. Um, So what are you saying? Are you saying that they turn off, power down, uh, put a repair tag on those machines with a higher denomination? Uh, if What happens is, what we've seen is the lower the odds, the better. This goes against myth, but the lower the odds, the better. Lower the odds, uh, the lower the denomination, the better the odds. And except not penny slots, which I have talked about endlessly, because that's the worst of any denomination on average, and the casinos have most of those. So they can make a fair amount of money on penny machines because it has the worst odds, and that's why they do it, because it's the most number of slot machines. Um, yeah, it's in the aggregate. It's This is something that not everybody seems to see. If you can sell $5 product to many, many, many people, it will beat the income that you would get by selling a $500 product to a few people, hands down. And so this is the economics. They have the data. They know how much is lower machines denominations played, how much is higher denominations played, what odds are set on each. Of course, within the state limits, if there are state limits. And I'm going to jump to that question because that's what you get when you do a super chat. You can ask a question at the same time. Kenneth says, have you tried any of your methods in Florida? Yes, I have an article on Seminole, Brighton, my father's favorite casino, and he also goes to Soaring Eagle. He spends half the year in Florida and half the year in Michigan, and so Seminole, Brighton, they had the 5-spin method. I haven't at the time I hadn't really codified, figured out explicitly the location. So I don't know about that, but they had 5-spin, and I taught my father's wife, who has since passed, and my father's friends, some of whom are on here, not today, and they can confirm. I also have a bunch of vouchers that they sent me of their winnings, and you can check the time and how they're 2 minutes apart, 5 minutes apart, and 8 of them. If you go to my website, and I think it's called, let's see. Can I quickly do that? It's let's see here. Yeah, let's do that. So if I go to I'll share here. Yeah. And I'll put your question away. If I go to reviews, and there's a bunch of reviews, Wendover, Foxwoods, there it is. Seminole, Brighton, Casino, Florida trip review. There's a lot of them. Like this last weekend, I went to Belchar Park, and you'll find that in here as well. So this is my trip, and my father's request that I go, and I went to the Brighton Indian Reservation for their Seminole Brighton. This is it, Seminole Brighton Casino, from the parking lot, and basically I worked through how did I help them, and I talked to them about what they wanted to do, and then I spotted a known winning strategy, and this is the section that you wanted, test it, and I explained simply for my father, for his wife, not my mother, but wife, and exactly step by step what to do, because that's what's needed. Hey, here's my father and his and Barb. So the visit wrap up, and then afterwards they tried a few things, and they sent me that photo of 6 vouchers, and it's good enough resolution that you can read the dates, you can read the time, and it's a few minutes apart on some of these. That's 1706. So what is that? 503, 514, 530, and hundreds of dollars or less or more. Yeah. And that's my trip report. So I try to do those. Please understand that there's more, there's 100 casinos in the United States. It would take me, if I went to 2 a week, it would take me 10 years to go to all of them. So what I've tried to do is provide Facebook groups where you can talk to local slots enthusiasts. That's, I also have that. So you can go to professorslots.com/FB, which I will show here. Let's see if I can make this appear for you. And I have a pair of eyes looking at me from the ground saying, where's my food? So these are not the articles that I was telling you about. These are actually Facebook groups. They're all private. There's 57 of them. I have a Professor Slots Enthusiast group, which has over 18,000 members. It got popular. These others have varying amounts. There's Guam, which has, I think, two because it's a military base and they're blocked from going to such sites. But then I have Michigan, which I think is around 500, and Nevada is more than that. And the state of Washington, I think, is number two. Oklahoma, I think it's up to a couple thousand. And so those locals have commented, and you can search by your casino name and see what they had to say or ask them now. Yeah. To Kenneth, I have to say that this whole last little bit of trying to make money, uh, the casinos can choose to do so. I have other articles. Yes, cat. I have other articles which show the casinos opening high and then not being high for the next 6 years. Never went that high again, etc. There's patterns to these winnings up here. Is that Hialeah is always up here, but like Belterra Park, since it was bought by Boyd Gaming, that article came out Monday, and it's just along the bottom, and it tied for another casino 1 year ago today. Otherwise, it's in a clear gap between everything else. They're just trying to make money back from buying the purchase, from the purchase of that casino. It's just amazing to see all this. And what I'm trying to say is this stuff happens. It is not illegal. It is, as long as they stay within the guidelines, and the guidelines are, pretty out there. Like, 75% minimum theoretical payout for Nevada. Do they ever set a machine below 85%? It's the average is 93%. They're not getting close to 75%. That's a legal requirement that is not used. Okay. Questions to others here? Good. So I'm going to go back, try to find out where I went. Let's see. Oh, wow. Okay, so I'm sorry, I'm kind of reading some of these, and it's like interesting, but I'll get to them. Right, so that's where I was, and question from to you. We answered that, and Dave says this topic is super interesting because in California it's all tribal casinos. Well, some tribal casinos have return statistics. The ones in Connecticut do. So it's not because they're tribal; it's because nobody said do it. You could change that, but you'd have to give a reason. And one of the things I think about for the future, I always have 5-year plans. Don't you have 5-year plans? I have 5-year plans. Is this, am I trying to help slots enthusiasts? Am I a slots channel, or is this a movement? And we're going to have some audience members who say, I wouldn't mind being an elected official, and I can go for state commissioner, state gaming commission, a director. Yeah. These things are possible, and so where might all this lead? And then make the changes that you think would be better for slots enthusiasts and get the political support to do that and make that change. Take it on as a cause. But it wasn't there from the beginning, and so making changes later can be a bit difficult. So I just saw that it's all tribal casinos, and I'm like, but it's not cause and effect. That's what I want to say. But I've been using some Nevada payback statistics for casinos in the Reno Tahoe area to help with my decision making. Absolutely. When all 20, out of the 1920 U.S. states that have return statistics, only 6 break down those return statistics by slot machine denomination. And when every one of them says penny slots are the worst, every month for years, Well, if your state doesn't have return statistics by slot machine denomination, that is so consistent across all the places that do, that you can bet that your state doesn't have it. I will mention there was one time in one city, Cripple Creek in Colorado, about a year and a half ago, where it wasn't. Pretty special month. But otherwise, it's just consistent. And so, um, uh, not to get distracted, you can use that if you see a pattern, and you say, "Well, it's better than nothing." Yeah. Like, in February, I checked the Nevada downtown, was it downtown Las Vegas? That I didn't check to see if the others had it, but I just was doing a report for you guys, a video for you guys on downtown, and I saw that 5 cent denominations in Nevada's return statistics for downtown were the best in February 2022. And they provide a 3-month average and a 12-month average next to the 1-month average. And it was also the best return out of all the slot machine denominations in the last 3 months average and in the last 12 months average. So that in the last year, it's had the best return, and that's pretty consistent. And so I'm getting a lot of comments about that, a lot of comments saying, so I should play 5 cent machines, and people on the East Coast. And I'm like, maybe, I don't like to apply it quite so much to all the other, as many places as I would the penny slots, because it's just overwhelmingly obvious on penny slots. The 5 cent, check it out. I would definitely test it. Better than nothing at all. Absolutely. Question from Dalton. Hey, Dalton. Concerning central servers, do cruise ships have them, or do they fall under the same rule as riverboat casinos? I know a lot of cruise ships have slots. Absolutely. A lot of cruise ships have slots. There's no room. They're like riverboat casinos. Riverboat casinos, you need to, for security reasons, you have to have a physical cable that's run from the central server or the bank next to it that connects to the central server, and that line is run down walls and under the floor, and over to the slot machine. You can tell that it's not from the ceiling because there's nothing there. There's no conduit. It comes up from the floor, if it was to be connected. And no, I mean, they have these machines connected in riverboat casinos, but it's not like, the number of cables that you would need. So you can run a few cables to these machines in riverboat casinos, but we're talking massive numbers of cables, and it's not a floor; it's a hall. So there's not room down there. There's water and mud, so there's a little bit of space, but not enough to, like, in a normal business environment, you've seen those floors that are like a 1.5 foot off the concrete, and you're walking on tiles. That sort of thing is common, like having your ceiling being hanging tiles, only it's a lot more, can support a lot more weight. Anyway, there's none of that on cruise ships and none of that on riverboat casinos. They just don't have the space. Also, there's a question of if they could get it, would they? Because to make a profit with casino slots, you would want to have enough of them in the cruise ship slot machines to make it worth your while. And there's few enough that you can just have somebody switch the odds on the machines, open it up, flip the odds, close it, and just do that whenever. It's not like they have 4,000 slot machines. Like, what does Yamava have? I don't know, more than that, right? And it's they wanted to be able to set up a schedule, because before, I mean, one thing you keep in mind is casinos are cheap, and one thing that they don't like to do is spend money. So they would get as few people as possible to change all the odds back before central servers, and it just wasn't enough, and they wouldn't be, they wanted to do things multiple times daily, and instead what they got was every 7 to 10 days. Or they could pay twice as much to do half that time and 4 times as much to do a fourth of that time. And so if they wanted to go to daily, they would be spending, employee compensation would go through the roof. And it's just, yeah, on cruise ships, there's a much cheaper solution. Just have the crew member who's assigned to the slot machines change the odds. By the way, I want to put out a cruise ship casino slots and how to win on them. It's at the beginning of the trip. They assume it's like the 5-spin strategy. I don't mean to say it's the 5-spin strategy. I mean to say that you win immediately, and they expect to get all that money back and more. So stop. I know it's not easy, but that's the secret to cruise ship slots. If you're on a 5-day, if you're on a 7-day cruise, like I've been on a couple of them, first day only. Maybe a little bit into the second day, because the first day is like half a day. First full day. And then don't go back. And good luck with that, because it's hard. Right. Jason says, Firekeepers, that's a casino in Southwest, a tribal casino in Southwest Michigan, has a large poker tournament this week. They removed about 40 slot machines to set up additional poker tables. Would slots closest to the poker room be best to play? Normally, it's a question of, we're talking about location here, and they may have removed the machines that were set up to win because of that. They're long term, they're competent. Short term, long term, they're competent. Short term, they're kind of like, oh yeah, is it on the checklist? Oh, and so they forget to set them up to be with the location. But if you do find it, that's a question whether or not, and they put those machines they removed back, check to see if they turned off location on those machines that are temporarily on the edge of the casino floor. See, this, I have a saying that I say, which is, thinking like this can win you a car at a casino or at Firekeepers and RV, right? Because they have RVs. And that's because I won a car at a casino. That's why I say that. I said that with my aerospace engineering job. Well, thinking like this, you could win a car at a casino, and unless the person actually knew my story, they'd be like, "That's an odd comment." Not so much. And they laid me off. Anyway, just to tell you the short story. Thank you for the customer feedback. Winners Bank 200. I'll show you what that looks like here. It's on my website. Any article, you go to the bottom here and you click on, this is the Winners Bank 200. Takes you to Amazon, and that's what it looks like. There's a little, can you see the plastic tip in the top? Let me change it to pink so it's a different color. Pink and blue. There's a little slot there, and that's the slot, and that's how you push money into the lockable wallet. Leave the key at home is the idea. And you're saying feedback for us is that Canadian money is polymer plastic and apparently doesn't work well. I can believe that. American money doesn't work great. I can see polymers being worse working with it. But American money, there's jamming that can take place. And, something like it's slippery, not as slippery as polymers, but it's slippery, and it's all kind of like, at best with this one is it holds more than the other one that I suggest. There's reasons to go with either one, but the one that holds more, this one, might hold 50 bills, which if they're hundreds, it's 5,000. Doesn't really work for high limit players because that's not enough unless you buy like a couple of them. But when you, if you jam it at 20 bills, then it holds a lot less. Yeah. Right. So question, are you familiar with 12 tribal casinos, Washington State? Only one very near here. Any observations of interest? I can't be at every casino. That's why I made Facebook groups about the locals, telling you what's going on. So I would join the Washington Slots Enthusiasts. I would show you, but it's private, and you have to be a member, and just ask, search under the little magnifying glass at the top for casino names you're interested in. See what anybody has said. I think it's been a year and a half since I've had those groups, and see what anybody has said during that time, or just straight up ask the question. Hey, I'm thinking about going to there. Is there anybody got any tips? And these are the people who, might be there at the moment, or last night, or last weekend, or 3 times last month. So these are locals, and that's better than what I can do, what I can accomplish. Decal question. If you go into a high limit room and it's completely empty, walk away or gamble it up. Usually that's a red flag for go away. Now, if it's 4 o'clock in the morning and there's nobody at the casino, then you don't know. It's not a red flag, because if nobody's out on the casino floor, that makes sense that nobody's in the high limit room. But if the casino floor is like normally busy, then if no one's in the high limit room, that means nobody is, there's plenty of people who like high limit slots. And if they're not there, they were driven away. You can check to see if the high limit slots are worth playing, but we don't like to be driven away. I say we because I started out as a high limit player, and it takes a lot to make us not want to go. Severe losses. You can see if it's changed and they just haven't caught on, but it's just such a red flag. Okay. Yeah, I can think of no reason why that would, under any circumstances, be a good time to play unless you, checked on the 5-spin method and it works, or you are there in the morning after and there's nobody else in the casino anyway, that sort of thing. But at a normal time with a normal amount of people out on the low limit slots and there's nobody in the high limit room, red flag, red flag, red flag. John Lang. I have played WinStar in Oklahoma many times. Do they work off location, location, location? Never heard much around the main entrances or bar areas. My strategies primarily work on Class 3 machines. Class 2 machines, bingo style machines, no. And I've been educating myself on what does work on Class 2 slot machines. I still have some way to go. I don't mean to, let you know that I have. It's not done, and it's not like Washington slots, the unique Washington slots that are based on the state lottery, but on scratch tickets, electronic scratch tickets. Those casinos have Class 2 machines as well, bingo style machines, and this strategy for Class 3 electronic scratch ticket machines, you got to know what you're playing and use the appropriate strategy. And I don't have one for bingo style machines. I'm building one, but I don't have it yet. You can go to some of the experts and some of the other videos out there that, if you're in, I don't have them near me. There's like one tribal casino 300 miles from me, and the other one's like a 9-hour drive. And so minimum. And I think that's Alabama, and then 12-hour drive to Oklahoma. I don't live near them, and it's inconvenient to go check that out. But I am slowly finding time to work on those. Just like I'm working on historic horse racing in Kentucky, because that's one of those things that are spreading to all the other states that have horse racing, because you don't need anything other than horse racing gaming regs, pardon me. and then you're solid. So there's a lot of states that, Kentucky was a test case. That's what they told me, that they were trying to do was, use it as a test case to then branch out everywhere. A lot of these non-casino stores, convenience stores, um, truck stops, and other things are just taking off. Like in Tennessee, it's just crazy. Right. So I will get to questions. Right. Marlene, you just asked, can't find any statistics in Seneca, Allegheny. Can you? If you go to professorslots.com/NY for New York, professorslots.com/NY, read up on it. Okay. New York is the most complicated state. They have everything. International casinos in Canada, cruise ships out of Manhattan Terminal, Class 2 machines in Seneca, Class 3 machines at tribal casinos near Boston, and then they got like commercial casinos too. It's just a lot going on. And so I had to spend time on that article to get it all sorted out, and I have professorslots.com/NY. Okay. That's your resource. Okay, question from Dave. If I miss the come back a week later, but I know what time and date I won on those machines, could I hit them 5 minutes, 10 minutes earlier as the same time some weeks later? Okay, so thank you for asking me a detailed question about come back a week later, because I don't get the chance to talk about my wonderful strategy that I love best. I gave it I called it strategy number 7 because number 7 is our, the special one, right? But anyway, first off, it doesn't have to be you. You don't have to be the first winner. And so you can watch somebody win and go record that, make a note of that machine, make a note of that time, and then come back there later. And it's always a question whether or not they follow me and know about the week later thing. So, be nice to each other, please. It's not happened to me yet. Even when I was explicitly explaining this to people on my machines that I was going to, that time is when I win. I'd go and do it and again and again. And my friends from work never showed up. So I don't think you'll see that. But, right. The other thing is it lasts for about 5 weeks. I'm not sure if, you play 5 minutes earlier, 10 minutes earlier, play through the same time period. I think the time kind of like drifts forward or back from that 10 minutes. I haven't tried to map it out. All I know is that it only works 4 weeks in a row. And that's why I have a bunch of different times. So I have a bunch of different machines, each expiring in their 4 to 5 weeks. Uh, and that's the system I use. Yeah. Okay. TU says everybody says max bet for better payout. That is such an ambiguous statement. If you max bet, you will win a larger amount at lower odds. What? Yeah. Yeah. If you go from, I've done this myself, make a 90-cent bet, minimum bet 90 cents, and you win $20, and you do it consistently for an hour, and you're making money. Okay. Then you switch to max bet, $4.50. That's 5 times the bet, and you make $35 when you win consistently on a winning machine again and again. $35. So you increased your bet by 5 times, and your return was not $100. It was not quite twice. It was $35. So $20 times 5 is 100. You didn't make that. You made 35. I didn't do that. Hollywood Lawrenceburg. You can see some of the stuff I wrote up on that. And $35 is more than $20. So everyone says bet max for better payout. And if it's dollar amount you're interested in, sure, bet more, win more. But if you're interested in whether you make a profit and what the return was, your bankroll, my bankroll, grew for an hour at minimum bet. Boom, 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 boom. And it didn't at max bet. Didn't even break even because it wasn't five. It was 5 times the bet, but it was not 5 times the win. It was less than 2. This is math. Maybe too subtle. Everybody says. Let's see. All right. I'm trying to find. So if you are interested in asking a question, make sure that you type hashtag question. That's the banner across the bottom. I know it's a little bit small to read on phones, and that is what I look for because there's a lot of chatter back and forth. And yes, Jason, yes, please let me know. Next 3 days is the poker tournament at Firekeepers. Yeah, good. Yeah, people are talking about the bank. Let's see, more questions. Follow up is I'm sure WinStar has class 3 machines like Lotus Flower, Pompeii, or Mighty Bucks, and that's likely, but it's about 45% of all slot machines in Oklahoma. That the last time they put this information out, it's been a couple of years. They don't often put that information out. 45% of all slot machines was all machines was class 2 machines. 55% was Vegas style slot machines. But there's entire casinos in Oklahoma that only have class 2 machines, and other casinos would have more. So it's not evenly distributed. It's not 45% class 2, 55% class 3 in every casino, not at all. So you might have a casino which is all class 2, then potentially all class 3 as well. So you need to, my strategies work on class 3. There are some bare minimum strategies on class 2 that you can try. I'm working on giving out my own opinion and my own strategy for that, but it's not available yet. And also all the other stuff that I talk about, the gamble box and the deposit only pocket and all these different things, loss limits, preserving gains, all that applies to, gambling. If you're betting money on a bowling tournament, sports betting online, having a loss limit, having a preserving gains, all that still applies. I'm fixing holes in what I'm offering, and some of them are very state specific because they have very, half the casinos in the United States are tribal casinos. Very few states with tribal casinos are choosing to have any class 2 machines. Texas, Washington, Oklahoma, and there's so many other states. Michigan, I don't think there's a class 2 machine in Michigan, and there's like 40 tribal casinos. They just don't do it because people want to play class 3 machines. Why does Oklahoma have it? Because of the argument going on with the governor. It's kind of subsided a little bit with everything that's been happening in the last couple of years, but just before a couple of years ago, it was a big deal. And there's a fee associated with having a class 3 machine, and tribal casinos are like, I don't want to pay that fee. Fine, we'll have more bingo style machines and we'll help our players learn how to play them. And now they're used to it, and just, screw you, state of Oklahoma, It's funny that the governor who tried to do all that to try to make some more changes to get fees attached to Class 2 machines and failed because of interesting reasons, but we'll move on. He's also a member of the tribe, or was a member of the tribe. Just in competition, this presentation started off with casino competition, and it's interesting how there's competition within the state between organizations, commercial organizations, and tribes, and those organizations could be like MGM International, because they're trying to protect Maryland. The Maryland casino, because they don't want one to open in Connecticut and pull business away. They want people to drive from Connecticut to Maryland, and they won't if they won't if they don't have to. So they make them set it up so they have to. Question: Monday, 4 a.m., day after busy weekend. Casino floor is quiet everywhere, so I cannot listen for people winning. What can I do? That is a concern. The opposite is also true. Yamava, formerly San Manuel, HR Tampa, WinStar. It's a dull roar all the time. It couldn't get any louder when it's full, and it's always full. It's always busy, and that's the same situation. So what you do is you look for, and when it's very loud, and just, I can't tell if it's louder when it's that loud, is you look for slot attendants paying out hand pays. But when it's really quiet and there's nobody there, if anybody can come up with a suggestion on how to tell, I have an alternative, which is not listening, because nothing to listen to if at 4 a.m. at some casinos, which are dead, there's nobody there. If you take the 5-spin method and test, I talk about testing to see if a casino has the 5-spin method, if it has tastes. And you only have to test once to know if they do. But you can use it again and again and again by playing 20 machines, up to 5 bets, not to prove to yourself that it has tastes, but to make minimum bets and see how it's going. See if the casino is paying out or if they're not paying out. Yes, it might cost you $50, $75, whatever minimum bet is, depending on your casino, but you see if it's good. See if it's the schedule of the casino says yeah or no, and that's what you do, because you don't have the noise to go by. There's advantages to going at 4 a.m. I was a little concerned about people going because I thought you were asking about my coming in the morning after busy nights, and I thought you might be asking about that strategy. And there's also, but there's also, trying to know if it's a good time being paid. What you're trying to do is sync yourself to what the casino schedule is. You can watch people, and then you'll know, and you come back a week later. You can listen when there's something to listen to. You can do all of that, and that's how you, in different ways, sync yourself to how's it going at the casino. Is it paying out or is it not paying out? Because it's on a schedule and you don't know. Okay. Yeah, I taught physics, and I know how to present complicated things simply. It's still complicated, but it's an easy to understand answer. I remember I was talking about the difference between, I'm sorry, I just love physics, talking about the difference between kinetic coefficient of friction and potential coefficient of friction. And people were like rolling their eyes at me, like, that's a lot of big words. And I'm like, you know how a bus comes to a stop and then it jerks right there at the end? They didn't change the pressure on the brake pads. It just switched from kinetic coefficient of friction, which is different from potential coefficient of friction, which is static, and the two parts aren't moving against each other. So they're braking, and then, I mean, these are brakes. They're moving, being slowly stopping, and then it locks because of the difference between kinetic and potential coefficient of friction. And I told my students that, and the next day one of them comes in and said, I just rode the bus in, and we all kind of went like this when we stopped. And I thought, I'm never going to forget that my whole life. What have you done to me? And so, yeah, complicated things explained simply. Dalton, yes, WinStar is, I think, number 2, depending if they finished building their next edition, but before what is it? Choctaw Durant, started. It's back and forth between those two right now. And Foxwoods has dropped out of it. Mohegan Sun is actually not competing with Foxwoods, just to stay on topic, because they've decided to go into running casinos, operating casinos for the owners. And Mohegan Sun, you may have known, has opened operating a casino in the Las Vegas Strip, and those in Canada, and there's one in South Korea, and they're just doing a bang-up job because all that years of competition with Foxwoods has meant they got really good at it and at running casinos, and so now they're selling that expertise, and they aren't as competing as much from Foxwoods, which is not a good thing, because the people in Connecticut were like, we are the winners. 2 casinos, on either side of the river. It's a riverboat casino. We just go to the best one, making the best offers, and they do that all the time. To outbid themselves. It's just a matter of keeping up. So players win when there's competitions, and players lose when there is no competition, like Hard Rock Tampa, where 300 miles away is the next casino, and people don't drive that far. Okay. WinStar is one of the biggest casinos in the country. Yes. So what I'm trying to say is know which one you're playing. And if you're going to use my strategies that don't have to do with Class 2 machines, then make sure that you're playing a Class 3 machine for that. And people, never look. Somebody asked me, I think it was a week ago, what's your one biggest piece of advice? What not to do? And I'm like, you need to observe. There's things to be found that make a great deal of difference. I hope it doesn't take the fun out of going to the casino. Not my intention. Okay. Dave says, question, based on a split $150 cash and $150 bonus play, what denomination would you target? So if you're talking $300, you can do almost anything. I used to be really down on penny machines because of the low odds. But the thing about it is there's more penny machines than anything else. Multi-denomination machines are actually rivaling the number of penny machines by, they're like the 2 gorillas in the room, and everything else is like less. And with that many penny machines, you can find good ones, which are lost in the awful average return. When there's 10,000 penny machines and you're like, I found 3 that are winners, you just can't see that in the average statistics, and go for it. But not if you close your eyes, spin around, and reach out and touch a penny machine and say, that's the one, because that's random. Which denominations to target? I would target penny machines, because it would not be just that. It would be location, location, location. It would be listen to the noise of the casino. It would, I cannot do one strategy to save my life. Now I'm doing several at once. And you see that in some of my reviews. And that's what I find happens with people who take my online course, professorslots.com/30 days. And, I teach each one individually, and then I made number 6 was 2 strategies, a best practice, and a really decent tip, and it's combined into do this and why it works. And that one is an example of the only example I have of combining things. Now I'm thinking about offering another course next year, which would be instructor led rather than self-paced. Take it when you need to. Over 30 days, you can take it in 4 days, even less if you really kind of like push it. But I was thinking about offering an instructor-led course that would just be about combining strategies. People who have taken the self-led course 30 days would then be eligible to take the next course, which would cost more because it's my time. I need to make a certain amount of money per hour, where my cost is sunk into the 30-day course. Well, I don't mean to explain business. Steve, hey Steve, welcome. John, I think it would be safe to say if you can prove that the 5-spin method works at your casino, it would be beneficial to max bet. I don't want anybody to overspend. My golden rule is to only take as much money as you can comfortably afford to lose. And, max bet is really expensive and getting more expensive all the time because they're raising minimum bets. So I'm not telling anybody to it also, a lot of people are like black and white. It works or it doesn't work. And I'm like, it works. It's a 2-step process. Do you have tastes and do you make a profit? Because if you have tastes, that's good to know, but you need to find the time in which the casino is actually paying out and not tight. And it might be January and February is not the months. We saw that this last January and February. Hey, Dave. There you are. Thank you, Dave, for your donation. You're welcome. He says, thanks for the comments and answers. You're welcome. You're welcome. That's what I'm here for. Sure, you might accidentally take my online course so I can draw less from my savings. But thank you for the $2 donation. I appreciate it. Yeah. Well, for Dalton, for many people, they don't have that confusion. Somebody was like, well, I'm in, what did they say that they were? Oh, where did they say? Was it Iowa? No, it was like Indiana or something. And they were saying, I'm in Indiana. What does it mean? And I'm like, there's only class 3. Many states have only got class 3. Even with tribal casinos, it's only class 3. So it's no worries. I'm trying to reach out to those people who are a smaller subset of the overall audience. Like if I can, I could have exclusively Oklahoma slots players topic. I can exclusively talk to Washington, the state of Washington. Please don't use the state of Washington way to win on class 3 machines in any other state, because it's the only state that has the lottery system based on scratch tickets. So you got to, every state is so different. And, it's, yeah, we all use the same money. That's about it. Let's see. Yeah, there's a lot of, I have this online course which I created, and there's not a lot of education out there. And when I say that, I'm actually telling you what you told me. My consultations and people who were talking to me before I made the course, and I was just giving out free content. They said, you are the only one. Now, there's a professor that's done a math video, and there's others that are talking about it. And what usually on YouTube channels, there's like a 90% continuation. I've been up since 2018. I've been talking all this time, and the podcast has kept up, the website has kept up, all these other things. Keep making your donations so I can start making enough money to maybe take a vacation. It's since like 2019, but this is a business for me, and I'm uh, trying to survive. And when you go to, uh, anybody, lately there's been a few people, but I hope that they last. I really do hope that they last, because I've been here alone for 4 years. If you don't count the 3 years from 2015 to 2018, where I was like, how does a website work? I guess I have a website. And then I started the podcast, and then wrote, self-published the book instead of just selling it on my website, which got more attention. Amazon takes 70%, but yeah, it just like can't win for losing. But the word got out. It's a marketing tool. And then I started YouTube, which is exactly the wrong order, but that's me. I'm less of a businessman than I am a math person, an engineer, a physicist, a teacher. The business is my fifth exciting thing that I do. Questions? Give you a second to answer. I think I hit everything that and more that had a question, a tag next to it. And if I don't get a question, I am 3, 2, 1. Hit enter. Okay. Okay, that's it. What a great live stream. You'll see me on my next live stream on Saturday at noon Eastern. In the meantime, watch this video. Watch this video to know when to visit Las Vegas for the best slot odds. This video right here. Thanks. Bye.